Hello and welcome to Talking Good Games match preview of West Ham United against Hull City in the Carabao Cup at the London Stadium. It's almost like our cup so far has been a battle of bad owners. We took on Charlton, got them out of the way, now we're up against Hull City. Gonzo, what do you know, or what little do you know about the Tigers?
Okay, not a lot. I did look because you were suggested in one of the videos you don't know if Rhys Burke was still there or something. He is, because I looked. They are top of the league for what it's worth after 2 games that they beat Crewe and possibly Gillingham, but they haven't conceded a goal yet, which is interesting. In the league, they had a humdinger in the previous round against Leeds, which went into penalties. Many penalties, as I remember. And obviously, I think the big question will it be the tale of 2 players playing against their former clubs in terms of Rhys Burke playing against West Ham? And, of course, Jared Bowen, will he be allowed a little run out against Hull, who, I mean, unfortunately for them, completely capitulated last season after he was sold?
Grant McCann is manager? Or former academy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. No, I didn't know that.
Grant McCann's manager, our old academy player. He played about 5 games for us, but he's in the dugout at Hull City.
He played in a horrendous game for us, Geo. I think we lost. I can't remember. We lost to Blackburn by a lot. I just remember it, and there's one thing that sticks out in my mind from that game, unless my memory is not serving me correctly, is Grant McCann had been given his chance, completely sort of hunched over and looking totally dejected. I think that game destroyed whatever we had in a young player. That being said, he obviously had a professional career. He played all of his life as a professional footballer in the lower league. So. It's hardly Rio Ferdinand out of the academy, but we do produce some professionals from there, and you know what? I'm pleased. I'm pleased for him because I thought we had a sorry old start to his career at West Ham. I didn't know he was manager of Hull though.
I think Hull City is a good team in a way, because do you know sometimes when we'll see a Man U fan or a Spurs fan complain, I often see West Ham fans say, "What are they moaning about? They're playing Champions League football. What are you on about?" And I think, well, hang on a minute, because you're a West Ham fan. Hull fans, Charlton fans are looking at you going, what are you on about? You're in the Premier League. I always think there's always fans worse off than you.
Yes.
But when it comes to Hull City, I think you've almost got to be a Bury fan, or a Macclesfield Town fan to be worse than Hull. The decline of that club. Now, if you're a Hull fan, I apologise. This is just a neutral looking from the outside in. But they were in the FA Cup final not that long ago. What was it, 8 years ago or something? They were in the FA Cup final. Yeah. Now they're in League One. I mean, last season they were comfortable in the Championship. Sold Bowen and Grosicki. They sold 2 players. Grosicki went to West Brom. And they just plummeted. They were about 33-1 to get relegated. And I think they picked up like 1 point or something between January and the end of the season. Just away they went. I've not seen a club just fall off a cliff in over the space of 6 months as rapidly as they did. Publishing it, they'd contacted Hull City to say, like, this is the article. I think they were looking for comments from the club. Then the club put up an article on their own website about the article the Athletic hadn't even published yet. So obviously people were like, what article? So they promoted the article which Hull City Football Club didn't like. They went and promoted it. So of course now everybody's going, well, where's the Athletic article? The whole thing was just a shambles. I feel sorry for the fans though. There's not much going for them at the minute. Into League One now. Okay, they might come up, and I hope they do. And I hope the crowd get back in the ground and they get to enjoy potentially winning the league. The owners got off on the wrong foot pretty quickly, trying to change their name to Hull City Tigers. It's not really recovered. They don't own the ground, and they don't own their ground. They don't have much players. Last season, do you know, post-lockdown, do you know what we had with Ngakia? The player's contract was up in Zabaleta and so on.
Yes.
Their captain and their longest-serving players' contracts were up, and they asked them to play for free. Hull City said to those 2 players, can you play the rest of the season for nothing? So it's just a bit of a I don't know. I remember there was a
did they?
No, I think they walked out. I think they said no. I think both of them said, well, why would you? You know, you've got your career to think about.
I would imagine. Look, I think most wouldn't, but I reckon 5 out of 100 possibly would, particularly if they were captain. I was just wondering if they had or not.
I think it depends how old you are. If you're in your late 30s, I think there's maybe
like myself.
You could expect them to do it. But if you're young and you've got a career move ahead of you, then it's a bit rough. But I remember a couple of years ago, I think, they had that big fallout with the owners because they took away concessionary prices for the home fans as well. No kids and no senior prices. Everything was just one price, regardless of how old you were. It's just not a very well run club.
That is terrible. And I remember, now you mention it, I remember the Tigers thing, because it was to make them more marketable in China, wasn't it? Just calling them the Tigers, which they were called anyway. Really, that was their nickname. You could already use it. You could already market them. It's a bit like somebody coming up with an idea. I'd say, why don't we call West Ham the Hammers? Well, you already can. Don't worry about it.
So, do you know when? All fans are probably looking at West Ham complaining about Gold and Sullivan, thinking, you don't know nothing. Wait till you see what our lot have done. But not only is Rhys Burke's there, as you mentioned. I mean, are you surprised he's now in League One? Because I think at the time when he left, we were all a little bit disappointed to see him leave. And I think many of us kind of a little bit of hope, a little bit of belief maybe that he could even make it at the Premier League level.
Well, the shame for Rhys and for us is that Rhys was seen going to away games. Rhys was seen in the crowd. Rhys is a West Ham fan. And we just want those people to play for West Ham. It's as simple as that. And I thought it was disappointing. Also, I felt there was two things that struck me about Burke. Number one was that he was one of these players, he was like Cullen. I always remember them as being sort of similar. And Mike will remember this if Mike's watching. Myself and Mike were sat in a boozer in a Southwark tavern just by Borough Market, and we met. Maybe there were some Bolton fans, or there was something like wherever he was playing at a club, and they were raving about him, and they were saying he was really good. And then he had a really good pre-season with us. We thought, oh, this is good, and we were, as seems to be perennially our problem at West Ham, we were looking for a right back. And he was shoehorned in at right back and played at right back, I think in a few friendlies, and looked good. He was getting forward, getting over crosses. And I thought, this is his season, this is his breakthrough season. But I think it fizzled out. He went on loan, he got sold, and it never really happened. But I think there's many people who will feel maybe they didn't get a chance. I think, hopefully he's not bitter about it. I wouldn't be surprised if Rhys Burke looks back and thinks, I could have done a better job. I could have had his opportunities and his chances have gone differently. He may have been somebody that could have ended up like James Tompkins or something. Do you know what I mean? I think the margins are very slim in football, whether you make it at the top level or you play at a slightly lower level.
Yeah, I agree, because you've then got to consider coaching and your managers and the ability of those people off the pitch.
The teammates that play around you.
I think it's easy to say, the player's not good enough because he played Championship football. I think if you took them out of the Championship and put them in a Premier League setup, they would just be a better footballer. Naturally, you would just coach them better, they'd get better instructions, they get better nutrition off the pitch, they play with better players, like you said. Everything's better for them, and I think sometimes people just almost fall into a hole, if you like, and just unfortunately down there. But they've got another ex-Hammer, Martin Samuelson, someone that you used to absolutely love, and you hope to make it, but he didn't even last season, and he made a handful of appearances for them. He's not had an appearance. He wasn't on the bench for the league game at the weekend past, but he was on the bench against Leeds, but didn't come on. Bit of a...
I wonder about these players. And I'll tell you what it has to be. It has to be application, attitude and drive. I understand circumstance at some point may come into it. Perhaps if you have some unfortunate circumstance in your life. So we don't know. So let's just assume that nothing has. Let's just assume. With that much talent, and I think he's quite a big boy, Samuelson. When I seen him play, I remember watching him up at Wickham training, and Ginge was leading the training, and he didn't look massively smaller than Ginge. He had very quick feet, 2 good feet. He's fast. He was about 6'1" and had a lot of talent. And I was watching him doing the free kicks, bang it, curling in the free kicks, the dribbles and the shots. Yet doing all that between the cones and all the drills, right? And I'd seen him play. I remember seeing him play at Peterborough and in friendlies, and when he had played, a lot of talent. And I know a lot of people with a lot of good attitudes. I would suggest it is something. Martin Samuelson's more skillful than Mikel Antonio.
Yeah,
right.
I would agree with that.
Why has he not? Why has he not made it? And it's got to be application. If I was blessed with that much football skill, I'm
But
telling you, I would.
but there's doing a step over, then there's playing football, isn't there?
But no, he looked like he could play football. So I think it's all up there with some of these players. Everything, there was nothing wrong with his body, nothing wrong with his feet. You know, I just wonder how much he applies himself. And I've seen him play in games and see him play well in games as well. I think he made his debut for Norway possibly at a very early age. And there was maybe the guy's name was Odegaard or something like that. He signed for Real Madrid very, very early. And I remember watching the two of them play, and they were both playing for Norway at the age of 17, 18, something like that. Wonderful players, and playing at international level, for goodness sake. There's nothing wrong with his footballing ability. I do wonder. I think it's a massive shame. And what I said about Grant McCann got every ounce out of his ability and had a full career. But I'll throw the name Freddie Sears at you as well. Didn't quite make it at West Ham, but has had a full career and just has spent his career at Ipswich and just banging goals in. They'll regret it. People like Martin Samuelson, I think, will really regret it if they don't apply themselves 100%. But as I say, unless there's some circumstance we don't know about, I think he's wasting a good talent.
Yeah, I think he's skillful, but I don't know if that then relates to being able to do it in a game and stuff. He's capable of crossing it, obviously, but it doesn't mean he's good at reading the game and so on and so forth. I don't know, we've not seen enough of him. Robert Snodgrass also up against his former club, as well as Jared Bowen tomorrow night, potentially. The only couple of players I've heard of, apart from the former West Ham ones, George Honeyman, who used to play for Sunderland, and then Josh McGuinness, who used to play for Aberdeen up here, Northern Ireland international. So I know a bit more about the Hull players than I do about the Charlton ones. Anyway, with that all said and done, we're going to move swiftly on to our team, West Ham. But before we do, if you would like to support the channel, you want to help us out a little bit, be a supporter of Hammers Chat. The link is in the description below. Just check out the description. Get more content, player ratings, matchday morning videos, opposition views, Patreon podcast, mug of tea with Geo Gonzo once a month, which is a cup of tea, but it's a bit more laid back, if you like, spicy sometimes.
Spicy tea.
Yeah, so patreon.com/Hammers Chat. Right, let's talk about West Ham. Are you excited yet, Gonzo? You weren't feeling it before the Charlton game. Are you feeling the cup yet? Are you?
I spoke with my mate Marcus, who is a Crystal Palace fan, on the phone earlier, and he said, "What are you doing tomorrow night?" I said, "Can't do anything tomorrow night. West Ham are playing the League Cup." I said, "You should know that. Crystal Palace are playing the League Cup, aren't they?" He said, "No, we went out." And I said, "Oh, well, there you go. You've clearly sacrificed the League Cup for your fantastic league form, whereas we have sacrificed our league form in order to win the Cup. This year is going to be our opportunity to win the League Cup. I'm feeling it now, Gio, and as I mentioned to you and a couple of other people, it would just be absolutely typical that one year we do win the Cup will be the one year when we're not allowed to go to Wembley, and we'll be stood outside, socially distanced with our masks on, trying to get in to watch our team win the Cup. I am feeling it. Yeah, I am.
The club messed up with season ticket renewals. If you took, they should have earlier said 100% renewal people. If you get to Wembley and there's a small allocation, you lot get to go.
Yeah.
No 30% people, no ticket for you, no guarantees. But the formation is interesting now because Moyes played three at the back against Arsenal. You'd have to expect him to do the same against Wolves. So for this one, do you stick with three at the back for familiarity, or do you switch to four at the back?
No, we don't have enough centre halves to play three at the back. I don't think I don't think he's going to use the same players that he's used against Arsenal. I think we will see the same pattern. So we will see our reserve team, for want of a better word. Bearing in mind we're already shoehorning a left back to play at centre half with three at the back. I just don't think they're right. He's going to want to rest Ogbonna. He's not going to want to play Cresswell. So if he does it, what's he going to do? Play Balbuena and Baptista and one of the others, maybe Diop? I can't see him doing it, really. So I do think we're a little bit better off and a little bit safer.
What do you want to see, though, rather than what you think will happen?
Yeah, I don't want to see him play the first team.
No, I'm talking about the formation. What formation do you want to see played?
Well, I want to see the four at the back for this one.
I would like three at the back for familiarity. I want to see the players that are coming in are getting an opportunity to show Moyes what you can do. And I want them to be able to say, here, this is what I can do in your current setup. Because if we play 4-2-3-1 again, they play really well. Moyes has almost got a thing saying, oh, hang on a minute, you can do it in a 4-2-3-1, but can you do it in a 3-4-3? And it's a completely different game. And I think it's almost, in fairness to those that start against Hull, that you have to play as similar as possible system to what we will play against Wolves. That's how I would do it. For my back three, because it's going to be different from you, is Balbuena, Diop and Olise. I know he's a young lad, but he's capable of playing League One standard, and this is what we are playing. We're playing a League One side. He's got two very experienced centre-backs in there with him. I'd expect that back three to cope. Randolph in goal. What's your back five looking like then? Include your goalkeeper, because you went Fabianski in the last game.
Yeah, I'll play Randolph in goal because I think you made a good point about the distribution when Randolph played, and thought we saw some really bad distribution from Fabianski in the previous game against Arsenal. I will play. We're going to have to play one of those fullbacks, unfortunately, who's played against Arsenal. So I probably will still play Masuaku. I'll play him at left back, I'll play Johnson right back, and I would play Diop and Balbuena as the two centre halves.
Not too different. How's your midfield looking?
I will play Josh Cullen, absolutely play Josh Cullen in midfield. Possibly play. I'm tempted to play Mark Noble next to him, but I noticed they were taking up similar positions, almost getting in each other's way. So maybe throw one other in there. Possibly play Snodgrass in there, actually. Play Snodgrass alongside him with Lanzini just in front as a number 10.
I guess you could call mine 4 across the middle for the sake of ease, but I'm just doing like for what we did against Arsenal. Johnson on the right, and I would bring in Longello on the left, actually.
Oh, good shout.
I've only seen bits and pieces of him, but I think you've got to give the lad a chance at some point. And again, context is important. We're playing a League One side. There's stuff you can do with the back three there. You can put Olise over on the right, for example, and then put Balbuena behind Longello to help him out or something. But I would like to see something a little bit different, see what he's got. And it just means that if Masuaku is unable to play against Wolves, say he picks up a training injury, we know if Longello can cut it or not at wing back, or at least offer something perhaps. Because at the minute we don't have a backup for Masuaku, do we? I know we're trying to purchase one, but let's see if we've got one in the under 23s. He needs a chance. My midfield, I'd put Cullen in there, and I was actually struggling with the other one. I wrote down Noble and scored it out and put Lanzini in because I wanted to play Lanzini and I couldn't fit him in the other bit positions. So I put Lanzini in there with Cullen because, again, the opposition we're playing against should be good enough to have two players in there that pass the ball about. And I thought that them two linked up quite well, actually, against Charlton. I thought Cullen was looking for Lanzini quite a lot when he got the ball, so I'd put them in the midfield. So your front three, apart from your Lanzini in the 10, you're...
Simple Yarmolenko, Sebastian Haller and Felipe Anderson.
That's my front three as well. Simple as that, really.
Yeah, we can't... As I said, I'll repeat myself, what I said against Charlton. If we cannot beat a team like this if whatever, how much are they worth? Over that front three's 100 million or something. Someone will tell me the exact amount, but I ain't far off, am I? If we can't beat Hull with that, then we really do have problems. Famous last words. No, I think it's a good front three, actually, Gio.
Yeah, I would agree. Is there any player in particular you're looking forward to seeing against Hull?
Lanzini again, mate. I want to see more of Lanzini. I wanted to see Lanzini against Arsenal, but it was fine. He got it right. I wanted to actually start with Lanzini. Moyes got it right, and everyone that he picked performed well there. So I understand why he didn't, but I want to see more of him. And if we then see another performance out of Lanzini, then I think what we've got to then start accepting, I think, that he might have started really recovered from his injury, because I think then you'll be looking at a couple of good pre-season performances, a poor pre-season performance, but then two really good cup performances. And I think then you look at him and think, okay, that's 4 games where he's looked really up for it. He's looked sharp. He's been tackled. He may well be ready. We know he's got the ability to play in the Premier League. We know that. What we wondered was he so injured that he was shy of trying his tricks and trying stuff. I think it's really interesting. I'm very, very interested to see him in particular.
It's Ben Johnson for me for some reason. I think it's because I was a bit not disappointed with him against Charlton. I thought he had an okay game, but he did that silly thing and got that yellow card, and it really irritated me watching him get that yellow card, because I thought, that's why you are not going to start in the next game now, because you cannot get away with that in the Premier League. And I think Fredericks has sort of said to Moyes, don't worry about a right back, you don't have much money, don't worry about one of them, I'm good enough. I think Moyes is probably starting to believe that, but in order to not go get a right back, Ben Johnson also has to step up and say, don't worry, if Fredericks isn't in form or he's injured, I can come into the team and do the job. Moyes has got to have confidence in both of those two players. I think Fredericks is currently increasing the manager's faith in him, and I think Ben Johnson's got to do the same as well. Actually, he should be ripping these teams apart. Ben Johnson, he has to be. If you want to be a youngster at a Premier League club, you've got to turn up against League One opposition and make it look easy. A bit like what Nathan Holland was doing when he was at Oxford. He made it look easy down at that level. It was almost like this. I'm too good for this. Josh Cullen did it when he was at that level. Rhys Burke did it with Bradford City. He comfortably sailed through games in League One standard. Ben Johnson has to do the same, and any other youngster that we include in there, they've got to step up. All that said and done, are you confident? Before I ask you if you're confident, actually, Grant McCann, for a little bit of context, has sort of said that the weekend's game they play Northampton, and he said that that's more important than the game against West Ham. However, when I had a little look, he did make some changes for the Leeds game, but it wasn't wholesale 11 out and 11 in, so he tweaked it, but not drastically.
He might not have the luxury of choice, bearing in mind where they've come from in recent seasons. He might not have a squad of 25 players. He might have 16 or 17 who he considers usable, so perhaps that plays some sort of way. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure he'll give it everything. There seems to be a lot of players out there who become managers who have some association to West Ham, and we played one in the last game, didn't we, with Lee Bowyer there? So I'm sure he'll be motivated. I'm sure he'll want to do well, as will Rhys Burke. But it shouldn't be enough, Geo. A motivated McCann and a motivated Burke shouldn't be enough to upset West Ham. It really, really shouldn't. As much as we moan, the club is not the club. The club is not settled, but the team is settled. We've had a number of coaches in place for a little while now. They've had plenty of time. We've had a small pre-season and a weird COVID pre-season as well. There's no reason they should be organised. They should be familiar. Everyone knows one another. There's not been loads of new players come in. They should just be able to turn up there, get the job done. Why? Because we have better players. So yeah, I'm confident.
I'm confident as well. I think Moyes will be feeling good after beating Charlton. I think he would have felt a little bit of positivity around the club, from the fan base, of wherever. He must have thought, all right, okay, here we go. Now we're getting somewhere. Actually, this is good. We saw the players that played against Charlton, which are probably going to play against Hull. We saw good performances from them. Often you can see players like that not bother with the cup. You get the impression that they just can't be arsed. They don't want to be there. And I never watched the games, but you could probably have a look at Crystal Palace getting beat by Bournemouth in the cup in the previous round. There was other Premier League clubs that went out. Leeds to Hull. And you have to say, did you really fancy the cup? And the answer, I think their fans turned around and said maybe half the team didn't. But I never got that impression against Charlton. I felt like all 11 players were up for it. I thought all 11 players worked hard. And if we do that tomorrow night, we should win. And we should win relatively comfortable like we did against Charlton Athletic. But it's all about attitude. But I was pleased with the attitude against Charlton. We didn't win because we were better. We won because we were better and had the correct attitude. The other one player I was going to mention, I forgot, is a youngster, Odebeko, the young 17-year-old striker that we had from Man United, has been scoring on the 23s. He was due to be involved in the game against Charlton. Now, what that means, I don't know. I assume it's on the bench. But he picked up an injury the day before. I'd like to see him on the bench, Gonzo. I really would. I would like to see something exciting. So if we are 2-0 up, like we were against Charlton, I'd like to... We brought on Connor Coventry and... what was that boy's name? Ashby? Right back. Yeah, look good.
Yeah,
so I'd like to see that again. I'd like to see, when the game's comfortable, get a couple of youngsters onto the pitch and let's have a look at them. And he's the one youngster I'd like to see more of. Get him on up front and see if he can get a goal. All said and done, can I get your score predictions, please? And if you're going to predict a draw, let's go to penalties. I'd like your end result.
No penalties. 3 or 4-0. I think 3-0. To be respectful. I don't see any reason why not at all.
I'm going to say 2-0. I think Hull have got a little bit of backbone about them. So I'll say 2-0. I think we'll comfortably win, but depends on the attitude. Anyway, you can join us tomorrow night. We'll be doing a live build-up show where we'll be taking a look at both team lineups. Maybe more so West Ham, because I can't really comment much on the Hull ones. We'll maybe take a look at Hull City Twitter again and see what they think of the lineups to get a little insight. And then we'll have a live watch along a live review straight after the game, and then for the patrons, you'll get your player ratings after the game as well. Gonzo, I shall see you tomorrow evening.
Look forward to it.
Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new around here. I'll see you tomorrow.